Well, hello everyone, I'm UrielLocke, and this is Star Wars The Old Republic, the MMO. Free to play, BioWare, EA, and the last game that LucasArts ever made. So, basically this game is, you start out as nothing and work your way up to something. I've played a lot of the game itself. I already have 50, but sadly my account got hacked, so I had to start all over again. Basically, I lost my Origin account, which I had linked to this after Origin launched. I did beta test this game when it first came out, which was actually quite a bit of fun. I was kind of amped about that, and I actually subscribed to this game for a year at least. I also basically ran through with a whole bunch of my friends, and we pretty much beat every boss there was. I mean, we did the raids and everything, which was fun. But basically what I'm wanting to talk about tonight, or today, it's today, not tonight yet, sun hasn't gone down. Basically what I wanted to talk about was Star Wars in general. There's a lot going on with Star Wars, and the new movie that's supposed to be coming out this winter is something that I'm really amped about and really enthused about, because it's taking the next step in the Star Wars saga. And there's a whole bunch of lore and books and all sorts of things surrounding this, which I'm really interested in seeing what J.J. Abrams can actually do with the movie. I mean, the original cast being back is something that I'm really happy about as well. I mean, seeing Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill come back and reprise their roles is something that I'm really happy about. And moving forward within the Star Wars universe is something that needs to happen, in my opinion, but at the same time, I don't know how to feel about it because of Disney. I know that Lucas and Disney had a whole bunch of stuff that they worked on together, and it kind of, I guess I'm kind of leery with everything that's going on, because I've been playing Star Wars games and reading the books for years. I mean, I one of the first Star Wars games I actually can remember playing were on the NES. I mean, I played Return of the Jedi on that and everything. Or no, that was a Super Nintendo. My bad, Super Nintendo. But all the lore and games and everything that they have are something that are not really touched upon in a lot of the movies, and I kind of want to see if they actually touch on some of the lore about some of the other characters. Kyle Katarn specifically, because Han and Kyle were actually really good friends for a while, and they kind of built the academy again. But going through a game like this in the Star Wars universe and experiencing it again is something that it kind of touches me in a sense, because I grew up with Star Wars. It's something that I've always been interested in, something I've always been close to, because it's not the normal form of things. There's a whole religious aspect of this as well, which religion and video game series is going to probably get a series on this, but that's beside the point. Video games with Star Wars are some of the best video games I've ever played. I mean, you can look at the original Knights of the Old Republic. That game was freaking amazing. You look at, for instance, the Dark Forces games, which were amazing as well. You have the Jedi Academy game, which was part of the Jedi Knight series as well, which was also really good. Well, Dark Forces 1 and 2, and then there was that was part of the Jedi Knight series. But going through and playing Star Wars games, I've always felt that Star Wars games actually show the transition of the character better than most games. Now, that being said, there are a lot of really good games out there that actually cover your character growth and everything. I mean, you can look at any other MMO. But within the Star Wars universe, you have all the Star Wars lore and aspects of Star Wars within it, which takes place in a galaxy far, far away a long time ago. And this is a long, long, long time ago, because this is after the Knights of the Old Republic, which, honestly, I need to go play that through again. But Star Wars has literally grown from what it was to what it is today. I mean, there's so many people that are like, oh yeah, Star Wars, yeah. And they know about it, but they don't know everything about it, so to speak. So I've read a lot of the books, I've read a lot of the lore, I've paid attention to a lot of the stuff, and if you look at Star Wars in relation to life in general, you get the aspect of things where, one, you have, I'm messing with the settings here to try and mess with the screen to get it better, but I apologize for that. But basically, Star Wars is something that everyone can connect with, because it's a very human aspect of something that a lot of people don't see in a lot of video games or movies or books. And in games like Halo, you're a speechless protagonist, so to speak. And you go through the world, you grow, you learn, but at the same time, you don't grow the way you grow in a Star Wars game, or in a MMO of sorts, or a RPG. Now, MMORPGs are something that I've always enjoyed. Star Wars, yes, I enjoy it. I enjoy this game a lot, but at the same time, I have to sit there and say, well, I'm not sure if it's on par with everything that I'm used to seeing from Star Wars or from BioWare. I'm not going to be ragging on the companies at all. Yes, I don't have access to a lot of the stuff that I had access to, because I had to create another character and go in and create another profile and everything. But after trying to get my account back in for days and not being able to do that, I figured, well, let's just keep going. Let's do this. So, Star Wars has, in a sense, affected people in a way that most movies, books, or media even have ever done. I mean, yeah, there's music that has gone cross things and everything, but Star Wars is something that everybody can touch, in a sense. I mean, there's always an aspect of Star Wars that someone could relate to. I mean, you have Luke, who is the little outcast kid, so to speak, that was kind of told to do what he was supposed to do, and then did it usually. And then something traumatic happens, and it's that whole journey of a warrior, or whatever it is. Journey of a hero, there we go. That's what I was looking for. But it's that journey of a hero that everyone enjoys. I mean, you can read any book and realize that there's a journey of the hero in that, basically. I mean, you have the Hatchet series, you have Homer's The Odyssey and the Iliad. I mean, those right there are the same thing. I mean, this goes back all the way in time to before we actually could realize what was going on. So, relating that to today and to humanity in general, it's the growth of people, the growth of a character, or the growth of a person specifically, and how that one specific person can affect the outcome of everything. And that outcome of everything actually helps people relate to it, because in our day-to-day lives, we try to relate things to what we understand and what we know. In Star Wars, that's what happens. You have all these characters that are thrown into this specific situation that have to act a specific way in order for certain things to happen. For instance, if the end of episode 6 didn't end the way it ended, we wouldn't have Darth Vader becoming a good guy again. He wouldn't become Anakin again. He'd be Darth Vader the entire way through. I'm assuming everybody's seen it. If you haven't, whoops, spoiler alert, I'm sorry. But I'm going to talk a little bit about free-to-play games right now, because there's a lot of free-to-play games out there that are actually decent, but their issues are that they hide everything that you want behind a cache wall. And just like this game, they do that as well. If you actually noticed previously within what I was doing, there was a little area where I can actually run, and I had to buy that through the cash shop or through my subscription. Now, having the ability to do basic things in video games and having to pay for it is kind of retarded in my opinion. Having to pay for certain things that should be basic, in my opinion, is kind of dumb, because it keeps people from enjoying the game, in my personal opinion. Now, that being said, I understand companies need to make money, especially if the game is free to play. But having a cash shop is not a bad thing all the time. There are some games that actually do things really well with free to play. I can't really think of any off the top of my head, but I know there are some. One of which I think might be Rift. Rift is actually kind of fun. I've played a little bit of that. I haven't really delved into it, but people like to say it's a WoW clone. But then again, any MMO that is based on any form of fantasy basically is a WoW clone. So you have all these games that are trying to reach out and do stuff that other games aren't doing. And in a sense, it kind of detracts from all the others, if that makes sense. I mean, we have Skyforge that's supposed to be coming out soon. And Skyforge is basically the growth of a character as well. I mean, if you go through WoW, you grow your character, you become a champion or whatever. And then in this, you become a Sith Lord or a Jedi Knight or whatever. Jedi Master. Sith Master, basically. But the aspect of growing your character within an MMO is something that I think that a lot of people are into, because it takes away from the reality of everything that we've been dealing with in our daily lives. So you have like, oh, you go to work, you'll deal with the same stuff. You either sit at your desk and type up the same stuff over and over again. You go through spreadsheets, you do all your clerical stuff, you do whatever you do. I mean, there's some people that go work at fast food, there's some people that work at a grocery store. But in MMOs, and especially free-to-play MMOs, you're free to do whatever you really want. I mean, you can be whoever you want to be. And that aspect of being more than who you are is something that draws people in, because everybody wants to have something better than what they already have. They want to be more than what society says they have to be. So in video games, you can do that. You can be this awesome hero or this awesome villain. And if you look at all the MMOs of the past generations, where you're experiencing a story and playing through that story and growing your character, you're learning things. You're literally saying just one more level, just one more level. And that's how game MMOs and most games actually get you. I mean, there's times where I've played regular RPGs on like the PlayStation or whatever, and I've just been so sucked in, and I'm like, okay, I just need to finish this part of the story arc. I just need to do this. I just need to do this. I just need to level my character one more time to unlock this move. And games in general have taken the aspect of, hey, you can do this and you can be more than what you are, and you can actually have the ability to showcase this with things like trophies and achievements to your friends and be like, yeah, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, I've done that. And in a sense, it's achievements are something that a lot of people are actually into, like achievement hunting and everything, and I get that. And it's like, oh, I accomplished this. You have something to show that you've accomplished, which is something that you don't really get in your day-to-day life. I mean, yeah, if you build a desk or something, or if you build something, yeah, you got some form of accomplishment. But if you're sitting there packing someone's order at a fast food restaurant, or packing someone's groceries, or cleaning up on aisle 12, or standing around in a convenience store and some guy walks in and buys a pack of cigarettes or a thing of beer or soda or something, you don't really get very much accomplishment from that. And video games are that accomplishment. People strive to have some form of accomplishment within their life, which is why I do believe that there's the rise of games in general. I mean, MMOs, MOBAs, and all these things that are team-based, or things that you, in a sense, are moving forward from, say, the Half-Life into Counter-Strike. And Counter-Strike, you have tournaments, and in MOBAs you have tournaments, and if you're really good at it, you can get sponsored by people, and you can get cool gear, and you can do this, and you can do that, and there's a sense of accomplishment with being a certain level of good in a video game. I mean, there's millions of people that play MOBAs, and there's millions of people that play MMOs. Now, all those MMOs competing for the same group of people, in a sense, to play those games is part of the problem, because the video game industry is so saturated with a lot of the same types of games. I mean, you have LoL that came out, and then, well, you had Dota 2, you had Dota 2, LoL, you have Smite, you have all these others. Like, there's MOBAs that are popping up every 5 minutes, basically. I mean, there was MMOs that were doing that for a while too, and there still are. And a lot of people sit there and play these games just to see if they're good. And some of them are kind of crappy. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's certain games that I'm like, yes, I'm going to play this. And then you're like, oh, well, this is not half as good as I thought it was going to be. But that's part of the issue of having a saturation of certain types of games within the gaming industry. I mean, there was a time when I couldn't log into Steam and not find a clone of Minecraft. I mean, you just couldn't. I mean, every other game was a clone of Minecraft for a while. And don't get me wrong, Minecraft is a good game, and upgrading the graphics and making the game more accessible to people is actually a cool idea, but at the same time, if it's just basically the same gameplay, they're all going for the same group of people. And if you're all going for the same group of people, you're fighting for that within the industry to try and get people to, in a sense, buy your game or play your game or get publicity for your game. And that's where a lot of YouTubers actually came in. And they're like, okay, well, I'm going to go through and I'm going to play test and play through all these free-to-play games. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And it helps, in a sense, to have people do YouTube playthroughs and Let's Plays and everything and reviews to, in a sense, siphon through or sift through all those other games that are not as good as some of the others. So you have your favorite YouTuber who you watch and everything, and they're like, okay, well, there's all these horror games coming out, but you have this guy playing this one, and he says it's really good, and then you have this other guy over here who's playing the same game, and he says it's meh. So you, in a sense, have to figure out which YouTuber or Let's Player you like better, or you trust more, in order to find a game that you like and buy it and play it. Because with so many games within the internet right now, I mean, if you have a computer, you have access to just about any video game you want. And having that access, it's really hard to pick just one. It's really hard to find a game that you're into and just dive in and, in a sense, go spelunking through the game. I mean, if you're in Minecraft, you're literally digging through things. But if you dive into the story and continue to play the game and build up your character and become this awesome person or this awesome thing within the gaming world in any MMO, you, in a sense, have accomplished more doing that than possibly in your daily life. So having free-to-play games is a good idea. Now, locking people out of certain aspects of free-to-play games isn't always a good idea. I've always loved being able to hop into a game and be like, okay, well, I'm going to subscribe to this game for a while just so I can get the extra perks. And in a sense, that's kind of at the point where I'm like, okay, so I'm spending 15, 20, whatever I'm paying for the subscription. And yeah, it helps you for a while. I mean, you get XP boosts, you get this, you get that, you get gear, you get weapons, you get augments and all this other stuff. But in the end, if you stop playing in another 2 months, is it really worth it? And games being so expensive now. I mean, any game nowadays that's a full-blown game usually is about $60 on PC or console. So having those games be so expensive and having certain people on YouTube or Twitch or whatever play through the games, you can actually watch to figure out if the game's actually got good playability or replayability or the ability to do something that you normally wouldn't see in a game and you really like that aspect of something. Star Wars, when it first launched, was actually amazing because it had voice acting. This is one of the first games that actually had voice acting all the way through it. I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong, there were some games that had voice acting in it, but it was here and there. It wasn't all the way through. All these characters are fully voice acted, which is something that a lot of people were like, yes, this is awesome. I'm just going to buy this game for that. And then it kind of tanked because the people that were playing the game ate through the content so quick that BioWare and EA were like, well, what do we do now? I mean, I actually went from level 1 to 50 in, I think, a month or two. Maybe 3 months. But I'm a little slower at that because I actually had to work and everything. But those people that get paid to play games or sit there and get paid to, do Let's Plays and everything, they just do Let's Plays. They just play through this stuff and they eat through that content faster than it can come out. And different expansions and everything will keep the life of a game going, especially an MMO, or updates or whatever for your MOBA, or adding different champions or heroes or characters or whatever you want to call them. I mean, that makes the longevity of the game longer. It makes the game live longer. And when people sit there and have games that they've been updating for a while, and then the company that's been in charge of them is like, well, we're not making a lot of money off of this game, so it's either going to go free to play or we're going to drop it. And if you actually look at some of the MMOs of the past decade that have been around, a lot of them have died due to the lack of playability or the lack of ingenuity. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's just a clone of a clone of a clone of a clone. And if it's just the same stuff over and over and over again, how exactly does the industry grow? How exactly do we take what we know and what we like as gamers and try to have an impact on the industry and show the developers that this is something we want, this is something we need to continue doing? Well, in a sense, if it's a free-to-play game, you normally spend a couple bucks. I mean, if it's a MOBA, you spend for a different skin. Or if it's an MMO, you pay a subscription fee to unlock certain stuff. And that's a way of supporting things and keeping updates coming. But at the same time, if the game isn't actually as good and you're subscribed to it, you're not going to get that same feedback. And that's something that a lot of gamers in general, I think, are having issues with, because the market's so saturated, it's not even funny. I mean, I could go online and download like 5 different free-to-play MMOs right now. And that's when certain people take certain aspects of things and we're like, okay, well, I'm going to make this an action MMO. So you have to click the entire time you're fighting, or you're right there. You always have to be right there doing stuff. You're not just going to stand there and do nothing. But in a sense, that doesn't help either, because it's just repetitive. I mean, you're hitting the same buttons over and over again. It's a mouse click usually, or it's the one button. But moving through the industry are games that are actually really, really good. Games that have revolutionized gaming in general. I mean, you look at WoW. WoW has been around for a long time, and it's still running strong. Yes, they're kind of sort of losing subscribers, but any game does. I mean, the next expansion that comes out, they're going to have an influx of people playing. They're going to beat it, leave. And that's what a lot of people do. They subscribe to a game for a while, beat all the way to the end, basically, and then go play another game. And then when another expansion comes out, they go pay for that. And then they go play that. And then they just bounce back and forth between 2 or 3 MMOs. Now, is that helping or is that hindering? Well, that's my question for you guys. Does that actually help or does it actually hinder the industry? I'm UrielLocke. Please like, subscribe, and share my videos. And keep watching, because you never know what I'm going to do next.